Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for a wonderful afternoon with Kelly Bayer Rosmarin, the Chief Executive of Optus, talking today with us about building a digitally inclusive society. Thank you so much for being with us, and welcome to all our guests around the region. My name is Tanya Oziel, and I'm the Chief Executive of the Trans-Tasman Business Circle. And on behalf of my colleague Johnny Weiss and our team, we are delighted to welcome you all here today. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the original custodians of this land and pay our respects to the elders past, present and future, for they hold the hopes, vision and traditions of Indigenous Australia. Thank you so much, Kelly, for being with us today. This is your first major speech to the business community, and we are so honoured to have you with us. Optus has been a major partner of the Circle for so many years, and we are so delighted that you have chosen the Circle's platform to deliver a major keynote today. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you also to our major partners, Accenture and Salesforce. You are wonderful supporters of the Circle across our region, and we are so delighted that we were able to give you this opportunity to be so close to Optus during these times, even though we're virtual. Our other partners, ANZ and Teradata, and thank you to our silver sponsors, BAI Communications and PEGA. We welcome our representatives today from Salesforce. Pip Marlow, Chief Executive Officer of Salesforce Australia and New Zealand. Pip will officially open our event today. Bec McConnochie, Senior Managing Director, CMT Client Group of Optus, Account Leader Accenture, who will introduce our guest of honour today. Tony Boyd, columnist from Australia Financial Review, who will moderate our Q&A session. Noel Pettit from Vice President A&NZ Teradata, who will summarise our discussion today. And Jonathan Resterick, Communications, Media and Technology Industry Lead, Australia and New Zealand Accenture, who will wrap up and close our session today. Today our format is slightly different. Kelly will address us for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes actually, followed by a moderated Q&A by Tony. We encourage you to place your questions in the Q&A field. However, with such a large audience today, we may not have the time to go through all of them, but we will, however, pass all these questions on to Optus and of course to Kelly following the session. We welcome members of the media in the audience. We are on the record and recording today's vEvent live. I am now delighted to hand over to Pip Marlow. Pip, over to you, and thank you again, everyone, for being with us.
Thanks, Tanya, and to everybody else for being here today. I've been looking forward to the conversation ahead of us. I think as leaders, building inclusive workplaces, customer experiences and products, it's not easy, particularly during these times when the role of leaders is more challenged than ever. But we're not here to have an easy conversations today. It's around dialogues that focus on inclusion in any form. They're really important, pandemic or not. And so Kelly, your leadership style, your approach to business, it really aligns to those that we have here at Salesforce on many levels. You're passionate about driving innovation, delivering great customer service and looking after your employees. So I'm looking forward to you sharing more about how Optus is building a digitally inclusive society and how it's helping you better connect with your customers. We're really proud of the partnership we have in consortium with our friends at Accenture to really work with Optus on your exciting digital transformation journey. And today is a great opportunity for so many people to hear about how you are putting customers at the heart of everything you do. So who better to guide us and kick off with an introduction around Kelly is the fabulous Bec McConnochie, who is, as Tanya mentioned, a Senior Managing Director and Optus Account Lead at Accenture. So Bec, over to you.
Thank you, Pip. And it is a pleasure to be a part of this Trans-Tasman briefing today with two great women, two great leaders and two great partner companies. As Pip mentioned, Optus, Salesforce and Accenture unite behind the scenes on a business level with a strong partnership, but more importantly, unite with a shared and unwavering focus on our customers. The topic today sits at the heart of that focus in creating a digitally inclusive community, which has never been more important. Together, each of our organisations champion that goal, committed to enabling Australian businesses to reimagine and importantly thrive. With that, it is my great privilege and pleasure to introduce Kelly Bayer Rosmarin as today's guest speaker on the Circle's vEvent series. Kelly commenced as the CEO of Optus in April 2020, the timing a challenge I can imagine, having joined as the Deputy CEO the year before. Prior executive roles include Group Executives, Institutional Banking and Markets at the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. Raised in South Africa, Kelly earned a scholarship at the prestigious Stanford University in the United States, where she obtained a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering and a Master of Science in Management Science with an Academic Excellence Award for being the top master's graduate. Her career began in Silicon Valley with exposure to startup and established software companies, which developed her business acumen across a variety of disciplines, including product development, business development, marketing, M&A, and strategy. Please join me in welcoming Kelly.
Okay. I just want to check that the technology is working and you can hear me. All good? Excellent. I thought I'd start by getting us just to imagine what it would have been like if COVID-19 had hit us, say, 12 years ago, if it was COVID-07 instead of Kevin-07 that we all remember. If we cast our mind back just 12 years ago, there was no mobile broadband, no 4G, no iPhones, no high-speed fixed broadband. Actually, around 68% of Australians did have ADSL with typical speeds of 256 kilobits per second, or if you were lucky, 512 kilobits per second. And there was no streaming. Yep, that's right, no Netflix, no Stan, no Apple TV or Amazon Prime. Of course, there was always Blockbuster Video, but chances are the film you really wanted would be already rented out if everybody was at home trying to access them. Your children may be shocked to learn that there was no Fortnite, GTA, or Rainbow Six Siege. And unfortunately, the theatres would have been closed. So you would have missed the premieres of Pirates of the Caribbean, Shrek the Third, and Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. There were, of course, 5 free-to-air channels on which shows like The Big Bang Theory aired a weekly installment. Very few businesses had heard of the cloud, and typical networks were only accessible if you were in the office. That phrase, "sorry, I was on mute," had no place in our vernacular. In fact, if COVID-07 had struck, we would have had many fewer options, distractions, and ways to do what we've all been doing. So it's these moments where you really take a look and realize how far we've come. Digital technology reaches across a broad spectrum of our lives. And technology has provided us with the life raft that has kept so many aspects of our daily lives afloat during COVID-19, keeping us connected so we can remotely work, study, socialize, even stay fit and healthy. Now, widespread adoption has been a product of necessity, definitely with employees and students, but even with the elderly wishing to see their grandchildren, they've had to embrace technology as well. And while many of our deep-rooted economic and social norms have been challenged, it's abundantly clear that society's appetite for advances in technology is stronger now than ever before. And we are willing to embrace digital for even more aspects of our lives. Now we have the social license to accelerate the digitalization of our economy and society. And that's very, very exciting. But we must also be aware that not everybody shares the luxury of access. And so as we advance, we need to do so in a way that takes all Australians with us. Business leaders, government, policymakers can further optimize this digitalization using technology's benefits to bring everyone along with us. One of the critical elements in achieving our potential is data. And it won't be a surprise to anybody that this is something I'm very, very passionate about. And that's because data allows us to understand people and our environment so we can identify and solve issues, anticipate needs, make better decisions, and help bring everyone and every business into our digital future. So I've been looking at some of the data over the past few months, and what you'll see is that click-throughs to travel and weather are down by about 70%. No surprises there, right? I mean, who cares about the weather if you're going to work from home? And who cares about cheap trips overseas when you're not able to travel abroad? As you'd also expect, the data traffic used by those working at home for secure office connections has more than slightly increased. In fact, uploads over Wi-Fi shot up about 40%. So that's all consistent with what you expect from our present lifestyles, but Australians are also going for other needs that would not traditionally have been sought in person. A growing number of people are obtaining essential services like medical care from healthcare providers that have pivoted to telehealth services. Fitness and wellbeing sites have increased by 30%, with some sites like healthed.com.au showing an increase of over 11,000%. Visits to education sites are up 85%. No doubt that's driven by parents who are struggling to teach their kids online and need some help at home. Actually, Ugg Boots Australia was one of the fastest growing traffic sites in the last couple of months. I think we all understand the need to have comfortable feet, whether they're under the desk while you're on Zoom or just spending more time at home. And also people, as they seek support with the financial impact of COVID-19, can't always visit their traditional advisors in person. So many have been seeking online advice, and visits to finance sites are up by 16%. And of course, a huge uptake in the download of collaboration apps like Zoom, which we're using today, which have seen an increase of more than 1,100%. Simply put, Australians are increasingly turning to technology for aspects of their lives that were once non-digital. And in turn, more digital services, products, and channels are appearing. And herein lies the opportunity for governments, corporates, and academia to analyze data and patterns and create the avenues that ensure that we can make life better for everyone. So let me give you an example. Using aggregated, de-identified mobility data to solve problems, we can help cities understand traffic and people movements and make better decisions for the city overall. When you apply these insights to COVID-19, these decisions can be life-saving. DSpark, our data arm, is working with governments, health departments, and epidemiologists to identify how people and the germs that they carry move from place to place. And using resident and visiting population metrics and movements, we can understand the destinations of devices when they move from a known hotspot and analyze the movements of other devices that could have come in contact with the original group, and so on and so on. Using that model, you can then identify or try and predict the speed of transmission depending on a hotspot's location. It's been astounding to see the theoretical speed and distance that things can spread when you harness the power of big data in this way. Epidemiologists have described the tool that we've built as groundbreaking for their field, and this knowledge can be used to help the safety of Australians across the country. Because by understanding patterns like this, governments can set up lines of defence, like where to test and where to bolster health services, and that can help us halt or at least slow the spread of COVID. Actually, Australia's advanced use of data to solve these issues is in the sights of many around the world. Data also helps build the roadmap to other improvements. Another area of real potential is the economic impact and possible roads to recovery when it comes to SMBs, who are really a large powerhouse in ensuring economic growth in Australia. Many SMBs don't have the benefit of in-house technology expertise, people like CIOs or CTOs, to navigate what technologies, particularly emerging technologies, can improve their operations and help them bounce back from COVID's economic shock. Data, though, could be leveraged to identify which SMBs require more support and intervention and where exactly they need that support. One small example is that we identified the need for simple solutions small businesses to now be fully mobile and not rely on having a fixed line number. So we've just announced a new Business Connect set of plans that gives SMBs 4 SIMs, 250 gigabytes of data to share in a very simple, easy onboarding experience at affordable rates. At Optus, we're all about analysing customers' trends so we can identify lifestyle shifts and explore new ways to provide our customers with service and offerings that meet or anticipate their needs. And importantly, also simplifying how they use telecommunications services. So while eSIM has been available for a long time at Optus, we've just announced a fully digital eSIM. And that provides consumers with the ability to order an eSIM online and activate the new service in the My Optus app in minutes. So there's no need to go into a store, no need to wait for a token to arrive in the post. We're making it really easy for customers to switch to an eSIM or join Optus on an eSIM quickly and conveniently. And an eSIM also means customers can make and receive calls from 2 different mobile numbers on one device. And that eliminates the hassle of having to carry around both a work phone and a personal phone. So whilst coming from the industry I'm from, we made it much simpler to change banks and much easier. Now changing telcos is getting easier too. And because we're the champions of choice, we are thrilled to lead the way here. And this is the type of service shift we will make because we are using data to know our customers better. The opportunities for digitalization are clear and the appetite is there. We've faced this once-in-a-generation crisis, and it's our opportunity now to take a once-in-a-generation leap forward. We all have a role to play in that. It's a simple statement of fact that our post-COVID world will be even more digital than it was beforehand, and we are not going to be able to turn back the clock. Moving to a digital economy can bring tremendous rewards: improved productivity, investment, jobs, growth, enhanced international competitiveness, the protection and the creation of revenue streams. We can all lead with a digital by design mindset, where all consumers and businesses, and particularly small businesses, are encouraged to, empowered by, and rewarded from digital innovation. Government's announcement today of $800 million to encourage businesses to adapt digital services and the acceleration of 5G rollout is welcome and a great start. Economic incentives, whether investment funds or tax breaks, should bias towards technology that can help our entire economy push its technology adoption forward, but without the economic handbrake and the hot ache. Continuing to shift our economic curve forward is the way to put Australia back on solid economic footing and capture the full potential of our digital future. Other nations are taking this leap forward, and we need to do the same. So the way forward, very clear. We must aggressively push our digital adoption forward. We do need to do this with care and ensure we don't inadvertently exacerbate the existing digital divide. In its Australia's Tech Future report, the Australian government recognises the more socially inclusive that Australia's digital transformation is, the stronger our economy will be. This report notes that connectivity, access, and improved inclusion will enable government to provide services online and directly into people's homes to a greater extent. This will reduce the cost of services like education and healthcare, while also improving rural and remote access. Disappointingly, recent data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics shows that 2.5 million Australians are not online because of affordability issues, location, or lack of digital literacy. At Optus, we are passionate about repairing this disparity. And we are so proud that more than 300,000 of our Optus customers have supported vulnerable members of society through our fantastic Donate Your Data initiative, which we launched in December. Through Donate Your Data, our customers can go onto their app and donate data that they're not going to use to disadvantaged young people, who can then use that connectivity to seize opportunities which lead to brighter futures. We now have 10 charity partners associated with the program that allows us to provide internet access to those young people who need it most. Over 1 million donations have been made, totaling nearly 15.5 million gigabytes of data. And that's all since we launched in December 2019. Connectivity, data, communications are critical to all people. In fact, in the New South Wales Bushfire Review, the service that was most valued by the community was communication. Now, it makes sense if you think about it. If you're in that bushfire scenario, you want to call and check on your loved ones. You want to look up the latest weather and fire patterns. You also want to be able to identify what's open, where to get supplies, which roads and paths are safe. It all relies on that fundamental connectivity, on people all over being connected and being able to rely on that connection. As we transition to a more digitally enabled economy, it becomes critical that no one is left behind. A digitally inclusive society is the responsibility of all of us. Increased digitalization carries with it the risk of inflaming existing issues, and each of us will need all the collective creativity available in order to find solutions to the challenges ahead. Challenges like cybercrime, social isolation, privacy, and environmental concerns. In the same way that organizations have a responsibility to decrease our carbon footprint, we must be equally vigilant in increasing our nation's digital footprint. Every decision, every policy must ensure that all Australians, especially our next generation of leaders, are digitally empowered. And we must use data to inform those decisions and policies. We have our social license to accelerate into our digital future. Let's make sure we do this the right way. If we do, we can achieve so much together.
Thank you, Kelly. It's Tony Boyd from the Financial Review, and I'm delighted to be able to moderate the question and answer session. And the questions are coming in. What do you believe other corporates should be doing about the digital divide?
I think every corporate has a role to play. Depending what industry you're in, you can make sure that you're providing online access, that you're providing education, that you're providing scholarships, that you're encouraging your own employees to become digitally savvy, early adopters of new technology. There's a whole range of different ways that organizations can participate in increasing the digitalization of our society.
Thank you. NBN has announced an investment to improve users' experience. I think it's about $4.5 billion to take fibre to the home. Is this a threat to the Optus 5G home broadband?
I think we are very excited with every move NBN will make to improve connectivity for Australians. We've always maintained that there's room for multiple technologies here, that they'll suit different customers at different stages in their life cycle or based on their situation. And we're strong advocates for the NBN reaching as many Australian homes with as fast a connection as possible. We've also been on record for a long time saying that the primary avenue we want to work with the NBN on is improving customer experience. We think the debate in the industry has been too narrow and about the price. But actually, if we all concentrated on giving customers a better experience in connecting to and remaining connected to NBN, and faster speeds and a better experience once connected, we actually think that's the path to sustainable, profitable NBN in our industry, because that would eliminate a huge number of support calls, follow-ups, technicians being sent out to homes multiple times. If we could actually get that customer experience to be really good, It makes the whole industry more profitable, more sustainable, and even more importantly, it gives a great customer experience to more Australians and gets them connected well with fast internet.
This next question hasn't come online, Kelly, but I'd be very interested to know what you think about the need for fundamental price reform on the NBN. I think there's general consensus that the CVC charges, which some have called a tax on data downloads, which affect retail service providers and their ability to make a profit. When do you think, I mean, how urgent is this reform?
I think you can hear from my remarks, I think the number one thing is that we improve the customer experience and make the whole process surrounding the NBN better. That's the first path to profitability. Secondly, I think whenever you introduce a new service at scale like this, you have to learn and adapt and work with everyone in the ecosystem to improve. So I think it is time for the NBN to have a look at whether the current model could be improved and whether we have something that will suit us better in the future. I think COVID-19 and the rapid increase in data consumption has shown up some of the challenges with the current model, like the CVC charging, where all of us provide customers with a fixed price access to their internet, but then the NBN charges us on a variable basis. Clearly that creates a mismatch that was brought to the surface through COVID. And so it's a wonderful opportunity for us as an industry to consult with one another and design an even better system moving forward. So I see it as an opportunity for price reform to get us into a more sustainable place as an industry, and possibly even considering other players in the chain who are large drivers of data consumption. It does not have to be just the RSPs and NBN involved in this. There's plenty of others who drive data consumption who could also contribute. Say, for example, if they were to stream at higher bit rates, they might want to contribute to the infrastructure that needs to be built to accommodate that. So plenty of opportunities. That's just one crazy innovative idea, but lots of opportunity for us as an industry to work together, identify different options and go forward on a better basis.
Thank you. It's actually interesting, the CVC issue is one where you are in full agreement with Telstra, but I've got a copy of a federal court judgment here that Telstra objected to one of your advertising claims, which was that your coverage was better than ever. And it's incredible when you read the judge said that Telstra's claims were strained and fanciful, and that none of their interpretation of it was open to an ordinary and reasonable member of the public. So can you just tell me, there's this obviously a very intense and bitter competition that still goes on about whether your network is as good as theirs?
Well, Tony, I think it's a great opportunity to highlight just how good the Optus network is. We now cover 98.5% of the population. Telstra covers 99.5% of the population. So unless you're living in that last remote, really remote part of Australia that is very difficult to serve economically, you're going to get great coverage from Optus. And we think we're now one of two premium networks. Our network performs exceptionally well, and we've spent a lot of money and effort closing that gap to Telstra and delivering our customers a great network. And it's no wonder to me that Telstra is a bit sensitive about the fact that we have closed the gap. They charge customers a lot more for a service that they could enjoy just as good speeds and availability on Optus, and they justify their premium based on having a superior network. So when the gap gets closed, they get upset about it. So they tried to take us to court, but of course they did not win. Because our network is better than it's ever been before, and we'd love everybody to try it. You can go online right now, order an eSIM. Actually, it's on Friday, not right now, but as of Friday, you can order an eSIM online and try out our service, and I think people will be very pleasantly surprised.
And in the start of your remarks, you mentioned 2007. That's when the iPhone was launched. Do you mind just giving us your view of how an iPhone 5G phone, which I think is due at the end of October, will impact upon the Australian market?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very hard to predict. There's two schools of thought. One school of thought is that we're heading into a recessionary environment and people are going to be very conservative about taking on new expenses like a brand new phone, and worldwide sales of phones have been very subdued during this COVID period. The other end of the argument says that people haven't been able to go on holidays, they haven't had a lot of discretionary great things to spend their money on, so they're all going to jump on the new launch of the 5G iPhone and try it out. I think it remains to be seen which camp is correct. We at Optus are very excited about the launch. We've been putting a lot of energy into building a great 5G network, making sure that our 5G solutions add real value to our customers, give them a demonstrable uplift in speed. Not all 5G networks are concerned with that. Not all 5G is equal. Some people are using low-band 5G, so it'll say 5G in the corner of your phone, but the experience will be exactly the same as 4G. And so we've been really trying to build a 5G solution that adds value to our customers, and the more people who can access 5G phones and experience that value difference, the better. So we're certainly excited and very supportive about the launch, and look forward to helping our customers who want to access the latest and greatest in phones.
Kelly, it's interesting, since you left the Commonwealth Bank, many of the senior positions held by women in the executive leadership team have been taken by men. I believe you've made a number of appointments since taking over as CEO in April. What could you tell us about those?
Yeah, so I've brought in 3 senior executives, one to head up HR, one to head up, and that's Kate Aitken, who comes to us from Westpac and Goldman Sachs, an amazing, inspiring HR leader. I've brought in Libby Roy, who was the MD of PayPal in Australia and New Zealand, to head up our SMB business and really shake up the way we look at addressing the needs of SMBs. And I brought in Poppy Fassos from NBN, and before that, the Commonwealth Bank, to head up risk, so that we can take a strong approach towards managing risk and ensuring that we're doing what we can to live up to societal expectations. So all 3 are great appointments. I think they'll do a fabulous job at Optus. They happen to be women, but that was never by design. I just looked for the best people in the market.
Fantastic. What role do you think corporates have in terms of building digital literacy across the community, particularly for vulnerable cohorts?
I think everybody has a responsibility to do that. And anyone who wants to work with us can. We have a great program called Digital Thumbprint, which teaches young people how to be safe online and the consequences of their actions digitally. It's something we roll out to schools and make available online. And so it can be an in-person or an online program, really good materials. I know there are other organizations who invest in digital literacy from a cybersecurity angle to make sure that people's behaviors are safe and they're not divulging too much information. Even things like financial literacy online, how to watch out for scams. There's such a wide range of ways that people can embrace digital inclusion and digital education. And I think every corporate in their field has something to contribute. Thank
you. Here's an interesting question. Data consumption is going up given the digital adaptation that's occurred through COVID, and more of it's on fixed than mobile. Are you going to remain a price driver in the market? And how do you plan to monetize the digital revolution whilst investing in your network? Do you envisage prices will continue to go down? Yeah, I think, look, it's always tricky to talk about pricing in the future.
What I can say is that our strongest commitment is to being a customer champion and providing great options to all Australians. To do that, we want to get the right balance between delivering value and that means having a network that's great at an affordable price. So if you choose to be an Optus customer, you don't have to compromise. You get the best of everything. Great network, some fantastic differentiators like Optus Sport, which gives you access to fitness content and football, and you get an affordable price for the whole family. So we're trying to give our customers everything that they want. And we think in the long run, that will make us a loved and sustainably profitable company. And so one of the things we did do is commit to holding our prices where they are for the remainder of this calendar year, as we know people stare into the uncertainties of COVID. Both of our competitors have raised their prices during this period. As the customer champion, that's not what we decided to do. We took a different approach. So I think you'll see us making decisions with reference to our customers rather than our competitors moving forward.
Thank you. You mentioned sports, and it's obviously a big thing at the moment where we're having a complete reassessment of the price that's paid for sport. And there's some interesting sports up for grabs: rugby, potentially cricket. Existing, buyers of those content rights are selling them. What's the Optus strategy in that?
Yeah, I mean, we never comment on any specific rights. We'll always have a look at what's out there and see if it makes sense. I think the interesting thing we did, which no one would have predicted, is go into this fitness channel. So we've always had a strong position around elite football, and our viewers are loving that. The Premier League has just started. We've got record viewership happening at the moment, so really great engagement there. But we added a fitness channel, Optus Sport Fitness, during COVID, and more than 10% of our over 800,000 subscribers have tried a fitness class on Optus Sport. So we've created this whole new channel and experience. And what that means is for most Optus customers who are entitled to have Optus Sport as an inclusion with their plan, now if they're not a football fan, they get access to great fitness content for free. So we think that's a fantastic development and a completely non-predicted path that we took Optus Sport down just by listening to what our customers really want and value.
It sounds like you probably should have a partnership with Medibank Private or the NIB Health Fund. Is that in the offing?
I don't know about those specifically, but it's a great idea. I'll look into it straight after this call, Tony.
Here's a question from Denise Tung. What can we do to encourage more government financial support to reduce the digital divide and enable digital empowerment?
Yeah, I mean, I think it actually starts with what I spoke about in my speech, which is sharing data, doing that in a very responsible way. It can be completely private and it can be anonymized and de-identified from individuals. But if we all start sharing our data with the government, working together to make sure that we understand who is and who is not able to access all the benefits of the digital economy, I think that will lead us to come up with much stronger policy, fact-based decisions about where interventions can be most powerful. And those interventions could be in things like early education and what subjects are compulsory, so that people emerge from school with far greater skills and experiences. It could be in different courses that are made available, new courses that haven't even been dreamed up yet. It could be in how tax is assessed. It could be in incentives for creating jobs in the digital economy. I think there's so many different ways we could work together, but it starts with really understanding what the data is telling us about where the interventions are needed and where they're likely to be most successful.
You mentioned it's easier than ever to change mobile provider. How are you creating loyal, sticky customers? And do you see a threat from the new Vodafone TPG combination?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to us that we send a message that it's easier than ever to switch, because actually most Australians are with the incumbent provider and haven't switched for years and don't know what they're missing. So one of the ways we're making it sticky is by investing in digital experiences around your phone. So our app, the My Optus app, is rated 4.6 stars on the App Store. I think Telstra's is around 2.3. Everybody else is in between. And what we've done is we've made our app so compelling, it means that our customers won't want to leave us. Because when you're with Optus, you can see exactly what data you're consuming. We've given people great options where they, if they're in a family plan, they can see who in the household is consuming what data. And if your daughter, like my daughter, is actually doing her homework for 4 hours a day, like she says she is, or instead watching YouTube and playing games. You can also top up your data if you need to. We introduced an unlimited data day. So our customers, if they want 24 hours off the meter, not worrying about anything, they pay $5 and for 24 hours they have unlimited data to use to binge watch their favorite show, or if you're me, do conference calls all through the night. Those sorts of things, which we think are really important to creating sticky, lasting, loved relationships with our customers, because they can really interact with and leverage the full power of what Optus has to offer and access that in a really user-friendly way. So we're trying to differentiate with that, as well as by giving fantastic connectivity and unbeatable value price.
Here's a question from Christian von Reventlow. How would the next step in the Optus digital journey look like?
Well, I don't want to give away all our secrets, but we have a great roadmap. I think those people on the call who know me well know that I'm a real champion of digital innovation and thinking outside of the square. And we've really encouraged all of our people at Optus to embrace that. So we shared a vision and a strategy with the company that invites people to put forward ideas. And we also try and share some of the learnings of what we see in the data patterns, because there's a lot of learning you can get out of that, and encouraging people to come up with what the new solutions for the future will be. So one example is that we just held a hackathon, a completely virtual hackathon last week. We had over 80 people participating, then forming into teams and trying to compete with one another to come up with a solution for a specific problem that we'd identified. This particular one was how we make payments even more easy. And we got 6 discrete ideas, and people got to prototype them, work through them. And we committed to making sure that the winning idea would be in market in the first quarter of next calendar year. And I'm pleased to say that went so well. It was a fantastic way to inspire all of our people, to get high levels of engagement. We weren't sure it was going to be easy to pull off these kind of hackathons in a virtual way, but it far exceeded our expectations. And what's great is because everything was done digitally and recorded, we've been able to now share that with the whole company. So anyone at Optus can go and view all the winning solutions and pitches, look at all the finalists, make comments, and then reach out and go speak to those colleagues and say, hey, that led me to another idea, etc. So it's really important to us that we keep thinking about new and different ways to engage our customers online, but always guided with principles of simplifying the experience and making it one that our customers will love.
Here's a question. Will Optus help Australia's recovery by using more onshore call centres? I think Telstra has done this. They've moved all their call centres from the Philippines and India back to Australia.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they've done it. I think they've announced that they will do it. But for us, I think we've been having a look at what we've learned during COVID. And one of the lessons is not to have all your eggs in one basket. And so I do think we will go forward with a distributed strategy of some sort. There's no doubt in my mind that it does involve having even more of our call centres onshore. We do have some now. We've got some fabulous teams in Sydney, Melbourne, and Adelaide. And we'll probably look to continue to grow those. But overall, we'd like to see our customers able to do more and more through the app and on their own. So there's less need to ever have to pick up a phone. And we actually, and this was just a great luck of timing, we'd introduced messaging into our app just before COVID hit. And that messaging is a great channel for customers because they just send us a message, we get back to it as soon as we can. They don't have to hold on, they get on with their life, and then the next message comes in, and it's really seamless. And during COVID, when we lost 90% of our call center capacity overnight, we were able to retrain all of our store staff to use messaging to answer customers' queries. And so we were able to still deliver consistently high levels of service to all our customers, leveraging our app and this great messaging capability that we've had now for a while. And we did not miss a beat, even though we'd lost 90% of this call center capacity. And just to put it in perspective for people, we get 300 to 400,000 calls a week. So when you lose that amount of capacity, it's actually very difficult. But we had the tools in place and the innovative approach in place that the teams came together, we wrapped our brains, and we were able to make that sort of a pivot, retraining more than 1,000 of our staff in stores to assist us. We, of course, also hired some people from industries that have been affected, some employees of Virgin and Qantas and others to supplement our workforce. And we also had a condensed training that used to take 3 weeks or 6 weeks had to be done in 3 days or 6 days. So a lot of innovation went into the whole response. But overall, it was a fabulous move towards our customers being able to serve themselves digitally. And we now have 80% of interactions with our customers done through self-service digital channels, which I think is pretty good. But we're not satisfied with that. We'd like to make it possible for people to get to 100% and only call us when they really, really need it and we can add value on the phone.
Thank you. You've sort of partly answered this, but how are you balancing and fostering the culture at Optus in this COVID world as the new CEO? Because I assume that most of your employees or many are working from home.
Yeah, so it's of course been a challenge. It's not what I imagined when I was going to become the CEO. You know, all the cultural interventions you think about involve a lot of energy in person, traveling around the country, visiting everybody. And of course, none of that was possible because of the COVID situation. But actually, I think we were able to do something that was really meaningful and well received instead. So what the team came up with during COVID, because we were launching a new purpose for the company, a new vision, a new strategy, and cultural attributes that we were aspiring to. It was all lined up. And we decided to pivot and introduce it to the company as a 10-part series, which was professionally produced by our Optus Sports studio because there was no live football going on. So we had a great professional studio, editors, people who produced shows weekly, and we leveraged that talent to produce this 10-part powered by Optus series that introduced all our people to the various aspects of the purpose, vision, strategy, and cultural aspirations. And people loved it. It was such an engaging way, especially if you think about being in COVID, 70% of people working from home and being disconnected from their colleagues, knowing they were getting a half-an-hour installment every week from the CEO and the leadership team, very tied into the purpose of the company, which is all about keeping Australians connected. And for us, it's about powering optimism with options that we give our customers. It was very meaningful and connecting and unifying for our teams. And it turned out, I think, to be better than what we had originally planned with road shows all through the country. And now we've got this fabulous 10-part series. We can show it to all new starters. People who want a refresher on various aspects of the strategy can watch it whenever they want to. So sometimes out of adversity comes creativity. And I think we actually delivered something much more enduring and impactful than we would have absent this unfortunate stimulus.
Here's another Telstra related question. Telstra is claiming 5G leadership. How far behind is Optus?
As I said earlier, not all 5G is equal. I think that the 5G is about creating massive productivity benefits for the nation. And it's not about who's leading early. It's about who's delivering a value-added solution that really creates benefits for customers in a widespread way. I also noticed that Telstra announced that they're going to have a Telstra FWA or home internet solution on 5G. Well, they're a year behind us. We launched our 5G home internet a year ago. And our customers love it. It gives them, we give them a minimum 50 megabit per second guarantee, but most customers experience 200 megabits per second. And often that's in areas where they're struggling to get 50 megabits per second on the NBN. So we've given our customers an option for a year that has really enabled them to access fast internet at home. And for a lot of those customers, it's been a godsend during the COVID period. So we feel like in 5G home internet, we're by far the leaders. So I think, you know, there is a company out there who likes to just say they're the best at everything. But I think the proof will be in the pudding over a long period of time as this technology matures. So we're not getting caught up in who's got more stations on day one or day two. It's about who's going to create enduring benefits for their customers and the nation in the long run. And we're very committed to that journey.
Well, I noticed the ACCC put out a report today on internet speeds on the NBN, and there's several tables in there which show that Optus is delivering its speeds at consistently higher rates than Telstra, but that's probably not a question.
Yes, ACCC #1 for the 4th quarter in a row. So as I say to my teams all the time, I don't understand why everybody's not switching to Optus, because if you want home internet, we're #1 ACCC speeds on NBN. We're the only ones that have 5G, and we have 4G at home if none of those suit your needs. So if you want to have great connectivity at home, you should definitely pick us.
Here's another question. What else is Optus doing to use innovation to address social issues?
Yeah, it's a great one. And as I've already mentioned, Donate Your Data, which is a very unique and wonderful initiative, as well as Digital Thumbprint, which is aimed at education. In addition to that, we have a fantastic program called Future Makers, which is where we identify and sponsor a range of companies that are creating social solutions. And we sponsor and work with those companies to enable them to reach their potential. So an example that we sponsored last year is the Virtual Psychologist. And Virtual Psychologist created a service where you can get psychological help via text message designed for people in remote areas. And then, of course, when COVID happened, the usage of this service just skyrocketed. So it was such a privilege for Optus to have been able to empower and work with this organization to reach their potential, and then see how that just blossomed during this period. We've just gone through the process of selection for this year and shortlisted 6 organizations. And so we're very, very proud of this program. One example of a shortlisted company this year is Need a Tutor, that tries to help education standards and accessibility to tutors in remote areas. So lots of innovative social entrepreneurs out there. And through a program like Future Makers, we're able to really fast track and facilitate the development of some of those great ideas.
This question's quite timely. It says, many tech businesses have seen years of growth happen in months or even weeks. And many businesses have experienced a permanent shift in consumer preferences, which make COVID lifestyle choices likely to be long-lasting. How can Optus help early-stage businesses introduce new technology to broader markets with an appetite for more digital services?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, and we are very focused on helping small businesses be able to find access to all this fantastic technology that's out there. One of the ways, for example, is through a product we have called Loop, which for those in the industry, it's like a virtual PBX. For those not in the industry, it's a completely virtual solution that lets you connect all the phones you have in the office. So if one person can't answer, it automatically looks for the next person. It takes messages for you. It does everything you would expect a sophisticated communication system to do for a large business, and it does it all online and on your mobiles. So there are some really fantastic technology solutions that we've brought to market. We're very proud to offer those to our business customers, and we'll keep working with other partners that are out there as well to make sure small businesses can increasingly access the cloud and cybersecurity solutions, which are two areas where we've recognized that people might be a little bit behind in their ability to access the latest and greatest technology. So we want to grow with our customers and help ensure that they have access to all the different solutions that could enhance their digital futures.
This one, I think you might have partly answered this, but what is Optus' strategy for value-added services in addition to networks? For example, you currently have Optus Sport, but what else is in the pipeline?
Well, I'm not about to reveal all the things that are in the pipeline, but I mean, we've had so many fantastic launches over the last few weeks, so I might just highlight a few of them. I mean, I mentioned launching Optus Sport Fitness. We also introduced a female football show to encourage women's sport. We introduced new 5G home internet plans offering people capped and unlimited speeds. We launched Optus Flex, which is our new fully digital prepaid, which is a fantastic proposition. We did a virtual showcase on 5G using immersive technology for virtual meeting rooms. We've announced Optus Sport on the Samsung TV. We announced some special Optus plans, which I spoke about in my speech. The eSIM launch, which happens this week. We've got a range of product launches in both the Samsung and the Apple family, and a few other exciting launches coming up in the next few weeks, and the continued rollout of 5G. So, I mean, plenty happening here, and I'm actually really proud of how the team is rallying to just constantly deliver fantastic solutions to market that will benefit our customers across the board.
This one's
We want to give lots of choices and create options for our customers, but really the message we're sending is that if you're smart and savvy and know good value for money, there is only one choice in the market.
Now, this is slightly technical. When mmWave spectrum is purchased by the carriers in next year's auction, what do you anticipate will be the initial uses of that spectrum, and what do you think will be the deployment strategy for Optus and other carriers, and when?
Yeah, so I think the reason everyone's excited about millimeter wave is that it will enable providers to get their 5G speeds to be higher. Because the way that it works is that if you use low band spectrum, it gets over a long distance, but it's not super fast. And millimeter wave and the higher frequency bands get you greater speed, but over much shorter distances. I think there's a lot more pressure on the other carriers when it comes to millimeter wave, because Optus already has a spectrum advantage in the high band, particularly in Sydney and Melbourne. But we're all going to want to access the highest possible speed bands that we can. So I think every carrier will have a different strategy based on the spectrum that they already have, as well as their aspirations, what they're trying to achieve with their 5G network. Some might just want to have that 5G symbol on the phone. Others might be targeting specific customer use cases, and those use cases could be consumer use cases around virtual reality and gaming, or they could be enterprise use cases around enabling manufacturing or self-driving cars, mining sites. There's so many different use cases that could be targeted. I think each organization will be targeting slightly different spaces on that spectrum, at least initially. And then over time, there'll be development of everybody's strategies.
Well, thank you. I think we're just about out of time, so I'll ask one last question, and this one is from Chris Smith. Any thoughts on the imbalances between Australian news media businesses and digital platforms, that's Google and Facebook? Should the code released by the ACCC be expanded to include telcos so over-the-top digital platforms pay for access to digital networks?
I mean, look, it's a complicated issue, and we really think that the government is best to make these decisions. They have access to a wide range of stakeholders and data and inputs, and I believe that the government is trying to do what's in the best interest of all Australians. Now, they don't always do that in the easiest or simplest or best way, but they certainly attempt to. And so we respect the role of government in making and leading those decisions.
Thank you. Well, look, we want to run this event on time. So it's now my pleasure to hand over to Noel Pettit, the Vice President, South Asia and Pacific for Teradata. And he will be talking about the poll. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks, Tony. So on your screen, possibly blocking me out, much to your disadvantage, you should see the poll. The poll is run regularly by the Circle, and it will be interesting to see just how much the thoughts have moved between this and the last poll. So please complete the poll, and hopefully by the time I've finished speaking, we'll be starting to see some results. Kelly, Tony, thank you for that interesting and thought-provoking discussion. At Teradata, we're proud to have been involved in Optus's digital journey for the past 20 years, and we're really excited about the role we can play in the digitally inclusive future. As Kelly was speaking, I was reminded of a statement that Eric Schmidt made in around 1996. At that time, Eric was the CTO at, excuse me, Sun Microsystems, that the greatest advantage that the internet represented was that it was the first publicly available infrastructure that respected the fact that intelligence is spread equally across the world, which I thought was pretty profound at the time. That's certainly been exploited, but as Kelly's articulated, the digital world now means so much more. In this time of duress in particular, it's hard, in my case, virtually impossible, to imagine how we would have coped without it. That ability we have to communicate with loved ones, to work, to access services, buy necessities, stay informed and be entertained, fundamentally wasn't there even as little as 10 years ago. And of course, with a more digitally inclusive future, combined with the greater use of all forms of data by both private and public organisations, how that could play out and will play out to substantially greater benefit over time. With that, let me hand off to Jonathan Resterick from Accenture for the vote of thanks and the close. And the results are starting to appear on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Noel. And I think I can see the result of the poll coming up on my screen. So hopefully all the others in the session can see those as well. So some really interesting information coming through, and thank you all for participating in that poll. Specifically, Kelly, thank you very much for your inspiring topic and transparent Q&A today. I think everyone found some fantastic value from that. Accenture strives to be purposeful. We are here to help businesses flourish, to create jobs and contribute to our local community. As such, we share corporate values and the same commitment as Kelly to closing the digital divide. So it's really exciting for us to partner with Optus and also our partner Salesforce on helping that journey for Optus with their digital customer program. And that's why we're really excited to be part of today's session. helping Optus not just with their program, but also with their broader journey on helping with digital inclusion here in Australia. So on behalf of Accenture and the Circle, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to send a thank you to Kelly, our partner Salesforce, the ANZ Bank, and to Teradata. And we look forward to welcoming all of you to the next V event. Thank you very much.